It was almost as if I wanted the earth to break into two and devour me alive right now. We are in a board meeting, mainly to introduce the upcoming CEO before the public announcement tomorrow. It would have been good if I wasn't seated next to the porter Alejandro Dunn, whose hand is so busy squeezing my thigh under the table while my uncle is just beside us too. He is so ridiculous. Ladies and gentlemen, Uncle Aris began. We all know that it has been a very bad quarter for us since the death of my brother and my sister-in-law. We have seen and observed that the sales of the airlines had dropped significantly. My niece and I talked about this many times before, and we came with only one last resort after all the other solutions failed us. And now, we are here to introduce to you our new CEO, Mr. Porter Alejandro Dan. All the eyes were on Porter, and that was my chance to remove his hand from my thigh. He glanced at me and smirked. I rolled my eyes. Pervert. What happened to no interaction in public? I thought that was on his contract. Mr. Dan, come up the podium and you may say your piece, Uncle Aris said, making Porter stand up with overwhelming command and confidence. I watched him as he stood on the podium in front of us. I bit my lip and couldn't help but admire his looks. Sure, he looks really handsome in his casual clothes, but when he's wearing suits, his aura is really different, like he could be a model of GQ magazine. It's going to be a shame for all those models once they see Porter. They all would pale in comparison. Good day, ladies and gentlemen. Porter started in a low voice. He placed both of his hands on either side of the podium stand and looked at us very confidently. Damn, I wish I had his guts, but I know I will, in time. I am Porter Alejandro Dan, one of the investors and the newly appointed CEO of the company, he introduced. I am very honored to be able to be offered a high position in an established company. To be honest, I didn't like it at first. I turned Mr. Fowler down several times until his niece, Miss Grazilla Fowler, talked to me. The board members all looked at me and I looked down in embarrassment. Why would Porter say that? That is not necessary. She talked to me and I saw desperation in his eyes to save the company her parents have established for her. She knows she lacked knowledge about business, so she is humble enough to offer someone else this position. I looked at Porter, who is staring back at me. The look on her eyes would really make you agree to all of her demands, so I did. After all, I could help and I could learn how to run things in this kind of business. It is a win-win for us, especially for me, Porter continued. Now, I know some of you may think that I am not worthy of this position because I am an outsider. Don't you all worry. I will see to it that the Grayson Airlines will boost its number under my service. I could see some of the board members nodding. None of them are talking nor questioning Porter's ability. It's as if all of us are engulfed at our amusement at Porter's confidence and aura. I promise and I will see to it that you will never be brought down. Thank you. Porter left the podium and sat beside me again. He leaned closer and my heart started to beat fast because I know that every board member is watching. Ah, I wanna kiss you, he whispered so sexily, sending shivers to my whole system. I pretended to smile and looked at Porter so that no one would even have an idea of what he just told me. He raised his brow and smirked. I pinched his thigh and he made a face. I rolled my eyes and began to listen to Ingrid, who is speaking to notify everyone of the meeting next week. Porter leaned closer and touched the inside of my thigh. I almost gasped at his bold move. It's a good thing no one is paying us any attention because they are all listening to my secretary. Show me my office so I could kiss you senseless, he uttered as he caressed my thighs. You be responsible to touring Mr. Dunn around. I have some meeting to attend to, Uncle Ares told me. I nodded and looked at Porter, who is all smiles as he heard what my uncle said. He's enjoying this, huh? Just you wait, Dan. I will slap you the contract once we're already alone inside your office. I rolled my eyes and pursed my lips in a thin line as I walked towards the lift. Walter and Ingrid were with us as I toured Porter in the different departments of the company. I didn't miss all the eyes of the ladies when they saw Porter. Well, I couldn't blame them. Porter looks divine in suits. I haven't even imagined someone being this good looking. But yeah, Porter is like a god from Olympus, so I am not surprised of how he looks. Are we going to the office now? Porter asked me when we were inside the elevator. I nodded. Your office is in the top floor, I told him. He smirked, like yours. I gave him a sharp look. Yeah, I said warningly, and he just chuckled. Walter and Ingrid were both quiet while Porter was talking incessantly of some of his plans for the company. When will your classes start? He asked me. Right, I am going back to school soon. I need to learn more about business so I wouldn't be as illiterate as other board members perceive me to be. September, I said. That's in a little over a month. I nodded. Are you ready? I shrugged. I don't know. I want to study for the company. Yes, but it would really be hard for me to adjust to a new environment. Fine arts is different from business. Very different. This time, he nodded. But you don't really have a choice. I hate that he's right. But once you've mastered business, you can go back and finish your degree in fine arts. I looked at him and saw him looking right into the door of the lift. I shrugged. I guessed. Oh, you will. You're a smart girl, he uttered, and the door opened. I led him to the office of the CEO where he would be staying. It's as spacious as my office, and the things have been rearranged and changed because I wanted Porter to think that he's really special. Well, he is. He is the CEO after all. This will be Mr. Walter's table, I said, pointing at the table right in front of the CEO's office. Walter nodded and tried to feel his desk. Hardwood, it's good, he said as he looked at Porter. This is as good as my table in your office in your company, Mr. Dunn. Porter smiled and shook his head. He headed over the door and went inside his office. I followed him, leaving Walter and Ingrid outside. Lock the door, Porter ordered when I closed the door. I narrowed my eyes at him but still followed what he wanted me to do. I looked around his office and smiled. He has 2 sets of sofa sets. He has an 80-inch flat-screen TV locked on the wall for his entertainment. Do you like it? I asked. He stared at me and didn't answer me. Instead, he marched towards me and pinned me against the wall. Ah, I will never really get satiated, he uttered before crushing his mouth on mine, kissing me hard and deep. I closed my eyes and responded to his hot kisses. Sure, he wanted us to make out like he said in his messages. Sure, he wanted to kiss me like he said in the conference room. And damn, I want it too. I moaned softly as I felt him sucking my lower lip. Shit. Is this room soundproof? I hope so, because I don't think I can keep my moans to myself now, not when his hands are already squeezing my butt. I put my hand on his ripped arms as he continued to kiss me insanely. I moaned and he broke the kiss. He looked at me deeply in the eyes and I smiled. I thought we shouldn't have interaction in public places. I teased him. He smirked at me before carrying me, making me straddle him. He walked me towards his table and made me sit there while he stayed in between my legs. "Not when the door is locked, baby," he said before attacking my lips once again. I felt his hands hover on top of my panties. He rubbed my clit expertly while his kisses took my breath away. Damn, he can never disappoint when it comes to these kinds of things. I moaned out loud when I felt him pinch my clit. "You're wet," he told me huskily. I shut my eyes and concentrated on the feeling he is giving me while rubbing my slick and soft folds. "Ah, I am about to come. I know. Come on your panties," he whispered as he increased the pace of his fingers, making me come and drench my panties. "That's my baby," he told me, seemingly satisfied before lifting my dress up. Ah, we're not done. It's early in the morning and I woke up to a message from Porter, from Dan. "Good morning, baby. Are you awake?" I rubbed my eyes and adjusted myself on the bed before typing in a reply to Dan. "Just woke up. Why are you up so early?" It's just took seconds before my phone rang. Dan would like to FaceTime. I immediately fixed my face and combed my hair using my fingers before answering the call. I was greeted by a grinning Porter the moment the video call was on. "Damn, you look so good in the morning, Graciela," he told me. His voice is raspy and sexy as hell. His hair is disheveled in a seductive way, even though I know that it was just his bed hair. How can he be this sexy in the morning? He is topless and lying on his stomach while his face is on the camera. From here, I can see his firm and firm biceps. I gulped as I admired his morning beauty. "Why are you up early?" I asked him. He gave me a playful grin. "Well, I dream about you, naked, on my bed with me." My eyes widened in shock. He dreamed about me on his bed with him? Naked? So, in his dream we were... It was a very good dream, Graciela. It gave me a morning boner. I gulped. "I don't think I can ever answer that. He has a boner because he dreamed about me. How does he expect to get an answer from me now? I don't even know how to react to that." His eyes then turned serious and dark. He bit his lower lip as his brows furrowed. He took one breath before gulping. "I wanna see you now," he told me in a restrained voice. I swallowed hard. I stared at him, seemingly not understanding what he just said. He wanted to see me means he wanted me to strip here for him. He once asked on the phone. I bit my lip and he just stared and watched me. "Show me what you're wearing," he ordered. I pursed my lips in a thin line before directing the camera so it could show him my clothes. I am wearing an oversized t-shirt and panties. That was all. Only 2 pieces of clothing. I can see him staring at my body like it was his meal. I don't know if I should be flattered or if I should be worried and scared of that look. He licked his lower lip before asking me to bring the camera to my face again. "You wear that when you sleep?" he asked. I nodded. "That's all?" I nodded again. "Ah, fuck," he cursed. He shut his eyes before cursing out loud once again. When he opened his eyes, his stare is different. It was already filled with unadulterated lust and desire. I can see his jaw clenching as he inhaled a sharp breath. "Baby, I need you to remove your clothes. I can't think straight now." I blinked twice before his words finally sank in. I stood up and he narrowed his eyes at me. "I'll just lock my door," I told him, and a scowl obviously flashed on his face. "Grazilla, you are wearing almost nothing. And you don't even lock your doors? What if someone comes in and sees you like that?" he scolded me. I rolled my eyes. "No one will come in. What if there is?" I sighed and shook my head. "I am alone in this house with the helpers. Elliot comes occasionally, but recently he's been to his girlfriend's place all the time, so no one would come." He narrowed his eyes at me before sighing. I can see his jaw clenching right after. "Don't do that again," he said in a restrained voice. I bit my lip and nodded. Yes, I shouldn't piss him off. I couldn't handle his stare so intense. He stared at me as I walked back to my bed. Strip. I swallowed hard. The command and authority in his voice is too much to handle. It's like I have no choice but to follow him. He's too overwhelming. I slowly removed my clothes while he watched me with eyes like he was about to devour me whole. He licked his lower lip and gazed at me intently like he didn't even want to blink anymore. "Lie down," he ordered. I swallowed hard as I slowly went to my bed and lied. He sat up, with his back on the headboard as he lowered the camera until it showed his huge length. I inhaled a sharp breath as I saw his hand move up and down his manhood. "This is what you do to me," he whispered on the line. I could slightly see his face, but my eyes are focused, his hand jacking off his shaft. Goodness, I want to do it for him. A moan came out of nowhere as I realized that I was already touching my... I kneaded my breast as I imagined his hands doing it. He cursed on the other line. "Rub your pussy," he told me. I pursed my lips in a thin line as I did what I was told. Two fingers were rubbing my clit while I moaned his name. "Insert your fingers." I nodded and slowly plunged in 2 fingers. "Add more." My eyes widened. He wanted me to add more? Damn it. I hesitated for a moment until I slowly added my ring finger inside my slick hole. And damn, it felt so good. I arched my back as I started to move my fingers in and out of me. I have never done this before, until I met him. He's the only one who got me to do this to myself. He's brought me to the world of desire and pleasure. And now, I don't know how I could escape. I can't escape. I don't want to escape. Yes, baby, just like that. His voice was a little raspy. "Move your fingers in and out of the tight and wet yours," I grunted as I listened to him encourage me using a little dirty talk. "That's right, Gracilla. Just like how my fingers would do you until I could lick out of the welcome out of you. Do it the same way." "Ah," I moaned as I picked up my pace. I don't even know if I am holding the phone right. It might be shaky. It may not even be capturing what I am currently doing. But I didn't care about it at all. All I know is that I was nearing my release, and that's the only thing that concerned me. Porter cursed as I moaned his name out loud due my convulsive release. My body shuddered as I saw him explode on his bed. The view of him having his release made me chuckle as I imagined him exploding on my body. I loved it when he came on my breast. That's Good baby, he said as he positioned the camera to his face. I'll see you in the press conference. I smiled weakly and nodded. I'll see you. I am wearing a black long dress and a cream coat on the way towards the venue of the press conference. I already told Ingrid that I would need to be extremely presentable today because aside from publicly appointing the CEO, this is also my first time to face the media. There will be a lot of journalists there, Miss Fuller, Ingrid told me. I nodded as we were driving off. I wouldn't be the star of the night. Ingrid glanced at me at the rearview mirror. I believe you will be, miss. You are the heiress of the company, so reporters will definitely ask you about your opinion regarding the newly appointed CEO. I nodded. I agree with her. Of course, I will be bombarded with questions. But then again, I can always have the choice to shut my mouth if I didn't want to answer. As soon as we arrived at the venue, I can already see the piles of reporters on the entrance. Cameras and recorders were everywhere. I somehow regret telling Ingrid to prepare a huge conference for Porter. My phone vibrated. From Dan. Where are you? There are a lot of reporters. I bit my lip and typed in a reply to Dan. I still in the car. Are you inside? I eyed the whole place. This better be a success. From Dan. Yes, and I don't like it. I narrowed my eyes on the screen. The car stopped and the security came to my door. He opened it and offered his hand for me to hold as I went out. I smiled at him. Thank you. I stepped out of the car and waited for Ingrid before walking towards the media people. I have been already bombarded with lots of questions that I tried so hard to dodge until I saw Porter walking towards me. The attention suddenly was diverted to him as he held my waist and guarded me amidst all the people. Mr. Dunn, what is the reason why you're the one appointed as the CEO? One reporter asked. Porter stopped and looked at the woman who asked. You'll know later, he said as he escorted me inside. We entered the function hall and I could see familiar faces inside. There are also some media men who were from different news stations. Porter led me towards my seat, which is just beside his. He pulled a chair for me and I sat before sitting beside me. I looked at him and uttered a simple thanks before noticing his furrowed brows. Sorry about the media, I told him. He must be pissed about that. It's almost chaos over there and I could only imagine how hard it was for him to get inside. He took a deep breath and pursed his lips in a thin line. Are you hurt? I narrowed my eyes at him. What? The reporters, did they hurt you out there? He asked again, this time in a more serious. I bit my lip and shook my head. His jaw clenched and then he nodded. Good, because I don't really know what I would do to them if they harassed you over there, he said, and there I felt it, a skip in the beat of my heart. Porter Dunn owned the podium and the microphone. The moment he got up there and made his appearance as Grayson Airlines' new CEO, he's been owning each question the media is throwing at him. He looked so damn reliable and I couldn't help but smile. In fact, I was in awe. How does he do that? I have been there a few moments ago and I was almost stunned at each query thrown at me. I didn't know if I should be mad or disappointed at myself, but I think I just proved everyone that I have yet to learn a lot from this industry. When the press conference ended, Uncle Aris called me and Porter for a nice dinner to celebrate the success of his press conference. I was hesitant for a moment because I was a bit ashamed at how I fared with the interview, but Uncle Aris encouraged me. I stepped into the car and my phone beeped from Dan. "Let's meet after dinner." I pursed my lips in a thin line. "Okay, he wants us to meet and I would give him that because he did so well for our press release." To Dan, "Okay." We arrived at the restaurant Uncle Aris talked about in no time. Ingrid told me she'd wait for me in the parking and I just nodded. I hope this dinner will end fast so Ingrid wouldn't have to wait for me for so long. I noticed Porter's car also parked near my ride, so I knew he was already here. I got inside and saw Uncle Aris and Porter talking in a table. Wine has already been served and a personal waiter was there for them. I took a deep breath before walking towards them. Porter saw me and immediately stood up to help me sit. Uncle Aris was all smiles at me while he sees me interacting with Porter. Oh, I bet he's going to flip when I knew where things have been between me and Porter. "You did great in there, Grace," Uncle told me. I pursed my lips. "I didn't." I shook my head. Uncle looked at me and sighed. "Darling, it's okay. It's your first time in front of a press," he told me just to comfort me. Porter nodded. "That's not bad for a first-timer," he said and gave me a meaningful look. I swallowed and looked away from him. Uncle smiled at me and I smiled back. But honestly, I think they're just trying to make me feel better because I know for a fact that I looked like a clown on that podium. I can already imagine the headlines in the business section of the newspaper tomorrow. The talk about my performance didn't really last long. The two have started to discuss about some possible projects for Grayson Airlines and I listened well like a student. I can't wait for classes to begin so I'd start knowing how this thing works. I silently ate my food as I listened to these two men speak foreign in front of me. There are some business jargons that I couldn't understand anymore. Ah, I can't wait for this dinner to be over. But then, if this is over, then I looked at Porter who is listening to my uncle intently. He's really serious when it comes to business. He's not really this serious when we're in bed unless he's determined to come. But now, seeing him this passionate, I kind of admired him. Kind of. And I'm not going to admit that to him. It took them almost an hour before Uncle decided that he has to go home now. We bailed out and saw my uncle go first before I felt Porter's hand on the small of my back. "Your secretary is still here?" he asked. I nodded. "Tell her to go home. You'll ride with me." I looked at him curiously. There is no sign of humor in his face. His dark brown eyes zeroed on me like they are telling me to do as he wants me to. I took a deep breath and took my phone out, dialing Ingrid's number. "Miss Fuller," she answered on the first ring. My eyes were still on Porter. "You can go first," I told her. "I'll ride with Mr. Dunn." Ingrid was silent for a moment before letting out a firm and curt, "Okay, ma'am." I watched my car drive away as Walter walked to us. He handed a key to Porter before saying his goodbyes. Porter led me towards his car and opened the door for me. "Thanks," I uttered as I sank in my seat. I put on my seatbelts as Porter came into the driver's side. I thought he was going to start the engine but no. He leaned closer to me to capture my lips and kiss me torridly. His hands cupped and pulled my face closer to him just so he could kiss me deeper. He delved his tongue inside my mouth and I moaned when I felt him sucking my lower lip. I placed my hands on his chest as I heard the unbuckling of the seatbelts I just fastened a few seconds ago. Porter's arms pulled my body close to him until I was already sitting on his lap, not daring to break the contact of our lips. He slid up my dress until he could touch my bare thighs and caressed them. My elbows are already resting on his shoulders while my fingers played and combed his hair as his mouth did wonders with me. He was not stopping and I didn't want him to stop. I moaned his name out loud when his mouth went to my cheek. God, Porter. My eyes are closed as I felt his tongue on my earlobe. You can come to a press conference looking like that and not expecting me to do this to you. His voice was raspy. And oh God, I loved it when he's talking dirty to me. His mouth moved to my jaw and down to my neck, planting wet kisses that sent my core on fire. His hands were also doing wonders on my lower torso as he slid them inside my thighs. Ah! I gasped when I felt his fingers circling over my cloth center. He bit my shoulder before sucking a sensitive spot. Tell me you're wet for me, he uttered in a commanding tone while his fingers continued what they are doing on me. I shut my eyes and gripped tightly on his shoulder while I felt a huge bulge on my butt. Baby, tell me you're this wet for me, he repeated. Please, I begged him. He shook his head. Not until you do what I told you to do, he told me. God, Porter, I moaned. He smirked and shook his head. Baby, you can have all the orgasms you want all night. I will give them all to you. Just tell me that this, he pinched my clit, is all wet because of me. I gasped under his touch. I have never let someone touch me this way. Porter was first, and with the way things are going, I don't think I could even give myself this hard to someone else. All the emotions Porter has made me feel, I don't think I could ever feel it with someone else. I don't think I could let someone else let me feel this way. Not when Porter has raised the bar so high. I don't think I can. Graciela, tell me now. He was already scolding me. I looked at him, drunk in his touch and kisses, and grinned. I leaned forward to his ear. I'm all wet for you, Mr. Dunn, I whispered, and just like that, it seemed like he lost all control on me. He tore my panties crunchily and threw it somewhere at the back seat. His fingers immediately found my clit and felt him rubbing it angrily. His other hand pushed me to lie on the steering wheel while he lifted my ass. He dangled my legs on either of his shoulders as his tongue met my wet and heated core. He licked the center line before I felt his tongue flick horizontally repeatedly while his thumb rubbed my clit. He sucked me there until I felt his fingers plunging deep inside me. You are so tight but you can handle 3 fingers, baby. He almost moaned as he looked at his fingers thrusting in and out of me. Yes, I moaned when I felt him crook his fingers inside me, and when they started hitting the right spot, I was almost begging Porter to go faster. Yes, come for me, baby. Come for my fucking fingers. He continued to push his fingers in and out of me until I was no longer aware of what he's doing. I'm already intoxicated and I think I would have severe withdrawal if I don't feel this again. I convulsed and moaned at the same time as I felt myself come on his fingers. He immediately licked me before I felt his tongue playing with my clit. It wasn't so long until I came into his again. Fucking sweet. I'd trade any chocolate for your sweetness, Graciela. He started unbuttoning his and I helped him. He tossed his shirt aside while I unbuckled his belt and undid his pants. I lifted my ass up so he could bring his pants down, freeing his proud glory. He cupped my breast as I slowly slid down his hard length. Shit, you're so fucking tight, baby, he moaned as he brought the straps of my dress down and devoured my nipples. I whimpered as I slowly went down on him and filled myself of his thickness. I gasped when he hit my G-spot. I hoisted up and slowly slid back down, only to find it hit that same spot once again. You're so beautiful, he told me as he molded my breast in his hands. They're bigger, he told me. I nodded and continued to move up and down on him. Are you playing with them when I'm not around? He asked me as he pinched me. I shut my eyes and moaned, Mr. Dunn. He pinched once again, only this time harder. I winced in pain but moaned in pleasure. Tell me, baby, are you playing with yourself? I nodded and said nothing but my moans. Motherfucker, I could imagine you touching yourself and I'm already jealous. It's when I miss your touch, I told him. His eyes are on me, full of lust and desire. Baby, you don't get to touch yourself anymore. I gasped as I felt him move in deeper. What if I miss you? He pushed into me harder again. Call me. I'll meet you and you the way you want it. His voice was laced in authority and lust. He's so hot. Even in the middle of the night? I asked, and I can't even recognize my own voice. Whatever day and time it is, baby, he replied as he moved once again. I whimpered, F me now then, I told him. I want you to f me hard and make me come all night. He smirked at me. As you wish, he replied before thrusting into me so hard that I had almost begged him to stop. I took a deep breath before leaving my car towards the office. This is going to be the first day that I would work with Porter in here. He told me last night that he'd be here even though he didn't really need to because I know he has a lot of other obligations on his different businesses, but he insisted. I was awake until 2 in the morning because that's the only time Porter decided that we should stop fucking. He's tired and I am beat too. I only had 4 hours of sleep because I had to go home early so Elliot won't suspect me again. Although I believe he'd known from the helpers and the guards. I practiced my social smile before stepping out of my car. My handbag is slung on my right arm while I walked to the elevator. The employees greeted me and I tried my best to greet each of them. Good morning, Gracila. I heard a male voice call me. I looked to my left and saw Captain Matthias Slater. I know him because he's been talking to me whenever there is a company event that I had attended before. He was always there too. He's about 5 years older than me and about 6 inches taller even when I had my heels on. His blonde hair and still blue eyes would really make any girl kneel in front of him. And I know that he's flirting with me. I'm not really into blonde guys. Good morning, Captain Slater. I told him briefly before looking at the elevator again. My head is slightly aching because of my lack of sleep. I think I needed to tell Porter to let me go earlier when it is work night. It's too hard to function when my usual sleep is not achieved. And right now, I am already thinking of how things would be if classes start and I have to work as well. And then there's Porter. I just hope he'd be kind enough to help me with my homeworks. You've been coming here? Slater asked. For the past few weeks, yeah, I replied curtly. I am really not in the mood to speak with him, but then I didn't want to be rude at him. He's a flirt, but he never disrespected me. Really? He asked, very surprised. I didn't know. I shrugged. Maybe you were away flying your Airbus. I grinned. He laughed. I fly a Boeing 737, love. He corrected me. I raised my brow. Love? He's been calling me that. That's a part of his flirting and I let it go every time he calls me that. I guess I wouldn't know. I don't really know my way around planes. He chuckled. Don't worry, I'll teach you about them soon, he told me in a promising tone. I smirked. If I clear my sked, I looked at him and if you clear yours, he laughed. Oh, just tell me when and my schedule will clear. I shook my head. A small smile is on my lips. You're still a flirt, Matt. He grinned. And you're still uptight, Grace. He replied as he placed his hands inside his pockets. Are you dating someone? He asked. I shrugged. My mind went to Porter for a moment, but I don't think we're dating. We're yes, but dating? I doubt. We're bound in a contract and that's all it is. Do I look like I have the time to date? I asked him. He laughed a hearty one. His uniform surely makes him look superior. He adjusted his hat on his arm. Well, if the man is lucky and worth it, then maybe you have, he suggestively said. I raised my brow. If he's worth it, then he's lucky, I told him before the lift opened. We both stepped inside. The lift was almost closing when the door opened again. My eyes widened when I saw Porter looking at me and then at Matt. Matt nodded at him but Porter just gazed at him proudly, like he's trying to prove a point. I am just so happy that Matt just shrugged it. Porter stood in front of me while Matt stayed beside me. I could already feel the tension in the air that I am already hoping that I am as oblivious at Matthias. He's just too chill. Are you going to your office first? Matt asked me. I looked at him. Yes, I replied. Porter clenched his jaw while his eyes stared at me through the reflection. I bit my lip and tried to look away. Matt nodded. Shall I see you in the meeting with the crew? He asked as he pressed the buttons for our respective floors. I smiled at him slightly. Yep, see you. Matt smirked. Good, he said as the elevator stopped at the floor for the crew. I'll see you, Grace, he told me before giving Porter a friendly smile and stepping out of the elevator. I moved away from Porter and swallowed. Now that we're the only ones in here, I feel like it is more suffocating. I filled my lungs with air as I felt Porter coming near me. His manly scent is so addicting. I want to smell him forever if I could. But then, his aura now is predatory. It's like he wants to enslave my body. Who was that? He asked in a low baritone. I calmed myself before giving him a controlled and forced smile. He's Captain Matthias Slater, one of the premier pilots of the airline. Porter narrowed his eyes at me. But why is he so excited while talking to you? Does he like you? He asked with clenched teeth. I observe his expression and can't help but admire how hot and good-looking he is even when he is pissed off. I tried to touch his face but then he faced away and gently yanked my hands. Fuck shit. You can't seduce me inside a motherfucking elevator, Gracila, he roared. I took a step back. I am seducing him? He took a step forward and trapped me in between his body and the cold wall of the lift. He punched the stop button in the elevator and I could only gasp at the mere thought of what is going inside his mind. My heart dropped when he tried to inch his face forward until it was centimeters away from mine. I am not seducing you, I mumbled in a low voice. He shook his head. No, baby. You can't look like an angel and try to touch my face like that. I am no saint. I cannot control my fucking raging hormones and I might just you inside this goddamn elevator. I gasped. Blood rushed towards my face as my heart beat erratically fast when I heard what he was going to tell me. What? Who is he to you? He asked in an angry tone. Who are we even talking about? Ah, yeah, right. It's Slater. I swallowed as my eyes are trapped under his gaze. A friend. He pursed his lips in a thin line. No, baby. You can never be friends with that man. He's a flirt, he told me through grated teeth. Anxiety rushed inside me when I saw how frustrated he is at me. But then, why is he acting like this? Is he... No, Graciela. Why would he be? Don't even go there. I gulped harder. No, Porter. He's just a friend to me. He raised his brow and his head. Is he really? He smirked. I nodded. Yes. I wanted so bad to curse myself right now for stammering right under his mercy. His stare shows that he sees my anxiety and he's using it to his advantage. Make it go away then, he said. I stared at him, confused of what he's telling me. What? His dark brown eyes stared back at me. This uneasiness that I feel. His voice is raspy. Make it go away. How? Have a good damn dinner with me, he trailed. Every night starting tonight. I looked at him, now even more confused. But no, Grazilla. That's the lightest solution I could give you. You wouldn't want the other solution inside my head right now. You might slap me if you hear it. I want to laugh. That's the easiest solution? I wonder what the harder ones are because eating dinner with him sure is a hard one already. I mean, are we going to every night? That thought sent shivers in my spine. Can you do it? He asked in a husky tone. I snapped out of my thoughts and prayed to whoever I can cling to. Yes, he smiled and planted a kiss on my forehead. Good. I'll see you tonight. I'm already looking forward, he said before pressing the elevator button again and the elevator started moving. Okay, what have I gotten myself into? The meeting with the crew ended well so far. I think the quality assurance is on the positive side. The feedbacks we got from the customers are almost all exceeding expectations, which is a good sign. And with the addition of the dark horse, Porter Dunn, with our company, will definitely boost the feedbacks even more. I adjourned the meeting and Matt is walking towards me. I gave him a quick glance and a smile as I fixed the papers in my file. Hi, he greeted. Hello. That's a good one, he told me referring to the meeting. I couldn't believe this is your first time briefing the crew. I smiled wider at his compliment. Thanks, I replied as I carried the files. He smiled back at me. Are you free for dinner? He asked in a good mood. I stopped and Porter's voice seemed to echo inside my head. Damn, I tried so hard to concentrate on the meeting and set his voice aside, and now that dinner is being brought up, that seductive voice came again. I gave him a courteous smile. I'm sorry. I believe I am occupied this week and the weeks after because Porter literally said to have dinner with him every night starting tonight. Matt's smile faltered, but then it seemed like he didn't want me to notice that, so he smiled wider again. That's okay. He ran his fingers through his hair. I just thought maybe we can have dinner before I go and be a good pilot for 15 days straight. I turned to him. You'll be gone for half a month? He shrugged and took the files from me. I believe so. I have international flights filed up under my schedule, he replied as we walked through the corridors. That's actually nice. You get to travel for work. He nodded and chuckled. Yeah, but it's not good if I am trying to pursue someone. I raised my brow. No, that's definitely a no-no if you're trying to court someone. He grinned. I know. That's why I am still restraining myself from courting you, he said directly. My eyes widened in shock. Matthias Slater is planning on courting me? I was already about to reply to him when I suddenly heard someone coughing behind me. I looked to where it came from and I almost cursed out loud when I saw Porter's tantalizing stare. Miss Fuller, we need to discuss something in my office, he said, now. And then he turned to the elevator and pressed the arrow going up. I gulped before looking at Matt apologetically. Sorry, I told him. Matt shook his head. It's okay. You need to work during working hours. He tried to joke. I bit my lip and thanked God that he's understanding. I took the files from him and nodded at the elevator where Porter is waiting. I got to go, I told him. Matt smiled. Sure, Grace. I'll see you when I see you, he said as he walked inside their office. I took a deep breath as I stared at Porter. His hands are inside his pockets as he stood ravishingly in front of the lift. I muttered under my breath silently as I slowly walked closer to him. He's probably going to ask more of me later, and that's already making my knees tremble. I was already almost trembling as I stood beside Porter inside the elevator. He's not talking and it's kind of killing me. He already told me his stand on Matthias, but then I don't see any wrong in what I did. Have I done something wrong? I was just talking to a friend. He took the files I am carrying without a word. I think I even caught him rolling his eyes at me. What the hell is his problem? The lift opened and we were in the top floor. Porter walked out first and he did to the direction of his office. I followed without a word. I closed the door when I entered his office. It's still the same. Obviously, he hasn't done anything to change the interior, which is kind of a relief for me. At least, he somehow liked it, or maybe he just didn't care. Well, I am still contented that he didn't change anything. Porter placed my files on his desk, then he leaned on his table while his eyes dangerously stared at me. His arms and legs are crossed as he stood there like a statue of a god from Olympus. He looked ethereal when he's serious. I took a step closer while my fingers fiddled. I tried to score my head for words I could say so I could ease the tension of the quietness of the atmosphere between us. What are we going to talk about? It's a surprise how I didn't stutter right now because I could literally feel my inside shaking under his gaze. I mean, how can he look at me like this and still be handsome? It's unfair and I can't even think of any other man who is capable of doing that. Porter's jaw clenched before his head to the side. Okay, he's looking so pissed off. But then, why would he be pissed off? I already agreed to have dinner with him every damn night. Is it about the office? I asked him. He rolled his eyes and scoffed. Oh, okay? You think I want to talk to you about the office when I just seen you talk to that motherfucking pilot? He asked in a tone of disbelief. I frowned at him. Why is he pissed that I talked to Matias? Are you jealous? I blurted out. His gaze darkened and his jaw clenched even more. He placed his hands on his sides and stood up straight. He looked at me like he's somewhat challenging me. If I were jealous, what are you going to do? He asked. My mouth flew open at his question. So, is he jealous or not? Damn it. He pursed his lips and took a step towards me. His aura is domineering and that left me unmoving. He stopped inches away from me. Baby, are you going to ease my jealousy? He asked again. But this time, it's as if he's pleading for an answer. My eyes bore into his, putting my head in haywire in a blink. How can manage to do this me? I don't even know. Are you jealous? I asked again because I needed to know the real answer. He kept on asking me rhetorical questions that make me wonder of what he's actually feeling. He narrowed his eyes at me. Yes. My eyes widened at his confession. Porter Alejandro Dunn is jealous? What in the world? I already told you he's a flirt. Why are you still talking to him? I pouted. He's not a flirt. He's a friend. He rolled his eyes at me. Yeah, right. I especially heard him say he's planning on courting you. He turned around, obviously pissed off at my response. He started to walk towards his swivel. I sighed and walked after him, reaching for his hand. Hey, I don't like him like that, I told him in a soft and convincing voice. He stopped and grazed me a glance but he didn't speak. I bit my lip and held his hand, interlacing my fingers with his. Matt is just a friend to me. Uh-huh, he finally mumbled as he faced me. But you're not just a friend to him, so don't talk to him. I slowly nodded. I don't even know why I am doing this. Why would I care if he's jealous or not? It's not like we're in a relationship. We're buddies and we even have a motherfucking contract for that. Good, he uttered before pulling me closer to him, crushing his lips on mine. I moaned against his mouth when I felt his mouth against mine. His arms locked my waist as my hands are pressed against his chest. He bit my bottom lip, making moan even louder. He broke the kiss and caressed my face. Don't make me jealous again, he said before leaning in to kiss me again. His tongue explored mine like it was a wonder he was so much willing to discover and unravel. He slid his hand behind my neck and pulled me closer to him. My hands are clutching his suit as I let him do whatever he wants to do. I moaned as I felt his mouth on my jaw, then down to my neck. He sucked a familiar sweet spot and I was about to remove his coat when Walter knocked on the door. Mr. Dunn, Mr. Fuller is here to talk to you. I pushed Porter away in shock of what Walter had just informed him. Ah, f this, Porter muttered as he helped me fix my hair. He also got his hanky and wiped the smudged lipstick on the side of my lips. I heard him chuckled and I gave him a sharp glare. What's funny? I asked, already panicking. He shrugged and combed my hair with his fingers. You look like mine, he uttered as another series of knocks came in. He glanced at the door. For a second, Miss Fuller and I are talking about something important, he said. My eyes widened. Why would he say that? My uncle's just there, behind the door. I hit his arm. What the? He asked. I glared at him. Why would you say that? Porter shook his head. Baby, your uncle is going to see you here. If we take so much time to open the door without me telling that, he'll speculate even more. I still glared at him, but he just continued to fix me. There, all good. His thumb caressed my cheek. I'm going to see you at dinner, he asked. I nodded. Just text me where. I'll fetch you. I raised my brow. Okay? It was useless to argue with him. It will just lighten the argument. He smiled and planted a kiss on my forehead. See you, baby. I walked towards his desk and took my things before Porter walked me towards the door. He opened the door for me and I smiled immediately when I saw Uncle Aris standing in front of me with Walter beside him. Uncle Aris smiled at me before his eyes fell on the files I am holding. So, did you talk about the results of quality assurance? He asked. I chuckled and nodded. Yes, Uncle. He looked at Porter. It's a good thing my niece can directly consult with you, he said. Porter smiled. She is a fast learner, Mr. Fuller, he replied. Shall we get inside? He asked my uncle. Uncle Aris chuckled and nodded at him. He looked at me first and gave me a hug. You are doing a good job, Graciela, he told me. I chuckled. Thank you, Uncle. I wouldn't have done it without you. He shook his head. I got to go. I have to talk to Porter about some stuff, he said. I should get going too. I looked at Porter. I'll see you around, Mr. Dunn. It will be a pleasure, Miss Fuller, he said. Porter's tongue flicked on my hated core while his hands reached up to my breast, pinching my until I was again moaning his name out loud. I grunted as I felt him licking my center line before delving his tongue inside my slick hole. I uttered as I gripped on the bedsheets. We are inside our hookup place and Porter's been exploring me for hours. I'm almost all spent but his stamina is just on a whole lot of a different level. He thrusted his tongue inside me, faster than ever. I could feel electricity coming up to my stomach once again and I couldn't do anything but to move my hips in the same rhythm as he has. Oh God, I whimpered as I felt myself coming into his mouth again. He's been giving me orgasms with his mouth and I couldn't complain. His tongue, oh my God, he's just too skillful with that damn tongue. Porter lifted his head from my center and kneeled in between my parted thighs. He licked his lips before wiping it using the back of his hand in a very hot manner. I bit my lip thinking of ways on how I could kiss him. He hovered on top of me and gave me a sensual, long kiss before he pulled me to sit on the bed. He hummed as crushed his lips on mine again. His fingers went to my core and rubbed my clit. Ah, I moaned as I felt my center throb and melt by his touch. He chuckled lowly and held my elbow. Come on, baby, stand up, he instructed as he assisted me to stand up. I groaned. I am already all jelly and tired but he wanted to do something this time. He hugged my waist and I could feel his bare chest on my back. He walked me towards the wall before leaning closely to my ear. Bend over, baby. I want you against the wall, he said in a raspy and seductive voice. His hands caressed my waist as I slowly submitted to his demand. My hands are pressed against the wall as I slowly bent. Holy sh! He uttered as he positioned the head of his shaft towards my entrance. Oh, I moaned as I slowly felt him enter me from behind. I bit my lip as he slowly moved inside me. He was pushing hard and slow and it's torture for me. I whimpered as my hands are slightly slipping on the wall. Harder, baby? He asked me like he's teasing me. I groaned and gasped. Yes, harder, Porter. He reached for my breast before slamming hard, fast and deep inside me. He pinched my nip as he continued, my senses out. Volts of electricity rushed through my system as I slowly felt it again. A familiar sensation formed inside my stomach as I met his thrust. The room is filled with our moans and whimpers as we were both on our way towards our climax. Fuck Gracilla. He groaned as he fastened his pace. Yes, there. I was gasping and begging him to make me come now. I want to come now. I want to reach it now. I need to. He uttered as he held my waist in place and thrusted inside me like a mad beast. His grunting and groaning while he plunged inside me deeper and deeper with each thrust he makes. I gasped out loud and called his name as I exploded and I felt him coming inside me. I was panting heavily when we finished. Porter held me up and hugged me from the back. That was one of the most amazing that we shared, baby, he whispered to me before pulling out. I looked exhaustedly at him and smiled. He leaned closer and planted a swift kiss on my lips. We can sleep now, he mumbled against my lips before carrying me bridal style towards the bed. Porter was sound asleep when I woke up the next day. I was right. I can't move. I am beat and spent with our night. It was as if he was an insatiable beast. We have sex almost every day, but he still manages to give me at least 4 orgasms before he decided to finish it. I shut my eyes and inhaled his manly scent. How unfair could it be that he still smells this good even after a night of wild. He was all sweaty last night, but he still smelled like he just got off the shower. Unfair. Good morning. I heard him mumbled against my temple. I slowly opened my eyes and saw him smiling down at me. Morning, I replied. He leaned down and planted a kiss on my cheek. You ready for the first day in school? He asked. I groaned. Yeah, I almost forgot that today is the first day of the semester. He chuckled at my reaction. What time is it? I asked. He reached for his phone off the bedside table. 8, he said. Your class is at 10, right? I nodded. All right, I'll cook you breakfast. I smiled. Thanks. He smirked. That's a reward for your exceptional performance last night. My eyes widened. I hate you. I hit his chest and he just laughed at my reaction. I hate it when he teases me about how I fared on. Sometimes I think he is just so surprised of the things I could do in bed. To be honest, I am surprised of my abilities too, as to how I can handle with him. But then, I have always thought that he has a lot of experience with a pile of girls must have been under him and begging them hard. He has a wide experience and I bet he is expecting a lot. I want to live up with that. I want to at least live up to his expectations. Porter got out of the bed and wore his boxers before heading out the bedroom to go to the kitchen. I watched his well-sculpted back and wondered how many hours does he spend on working out. He never tells me he's working out, though. But then again, why would he tell me? I sighed and sat up on the bed, willing myself to go and prepared for school. It's good that I have already given Elliot a good excuse as to why I couldn't go home last night. I am very much happy that Sheila was willing to cover for me, but with a reasonable price. She had to know everything about me and Porter. It was easy. I trust her. She's my best friend. I took a bath and changed into a blue shirt, black leggings, and a pair of knee-high leather boots. I also got my back leather jacket. I stopped and stared at the closet full of clothes that Porter brought for me. I smiled and shook my head. He's got a closet full of clothes for me, and shoes, and bags. I wonder who brought all this, though. I can't imagine him or Walter do the job. I walked out of the room and saw Porter already sitting in front of the food he cooked. French toast, ham, bacon, poached eggs. It's not much or overrated, but I appreciate his effort on cooking for me. I smiled at him and sat on the chair in front of him. He stared at me, eyeing my outfit. His jaw clenched as his eyes narrowed at my leggings. "Is there a problem?" I asked. He raised his brow. "How can you dress so decently yet all I could think of it all the guys who would look at your thighs and think of the thoughts I am always keeping to myself?" My mouth fell ajar. "What?" He shook his head and sighed. "I'm sorry. It's just that you look really good. I don't know if I can handle having other men look at you." Now, that's even more surprising. Why is he telling me all this? I swallowed. "Let's just eat," I told him, and we both started digging in. He volunteered to drive me to school because I don't have my car with me. I raised my brow when he stepped out of the bedroom wearing only white shirt, a pair of black pants, and Sperry's. He's very casual and I don't know if it's a good thing or not. He's too handsome. I don't even know how I managed to stop gawking at him. We walked towards the parking lot into his Aston Martin. He said he brought it last week when I asked him why he changed his car. And yeah, he's filthy rich. This car doesn't even cost a thing for him. He opened the passenger door for me. I watched him strut to the driver's side. We both buckled our seatbelts before driving to the university. "What time does your schedule end again?" he asked. "5, I sighed. "I'm kind of nervous. I won't be in the same class as my classmates before." Porter gave me a quick glance before turning to the curb. "It's going to be alright. You'll find new friends." I looked at him and smiled. "Thanks." He smirked. "I'm going to pick you up later." "Don't you have meetings?" He shook his head. "Okay," I told him. "I'll just text you." He agreed and we talked about the company some more before he was already pulling over the university facade. I unbuckled my seatbelt and looked at him. "Thanks for the ride," I told him. He gave a huge grin before pulling me closer to him. He leaned in and gave me a long deep kiss. "I'm gonna miss you today," I chuckled. "You're gonna see me after class." He nodded and caressed my cheeks. "Make me proud," he whispered. I bit my lip and nodded. I pulled away from him and got out of the car with my heart beating like it has an intention to explode anytime soon. Damn. Ah, it. It has been hours since Porter dropped me off, but his eyes and his words lingered in my thoughts. My hand went to my cheek and tried to caress it the way he did it. I shut my eyes and shook my head. I need to stop. I'm just getting used to it because this is the first time I have been that close to a man. It's nothing. I walked towards the garden after buying a sandwich and a can of Coke in the cafeteria. I went to an empty bench, looking over the famous university fountain. I brought out my sketch pad and started doodling. Doing this makes me actually think of how I had missed school a lot. It has been almost 3 months of me going to the office and talking business with some people I don't even know if I can trust. I felt like a different person. I felt like I had 180-degree change in less than 90 days. It's amazing how one tragedy can really change a person. But this sketching makes me feel like I am back in my old self who just wants to get drawn in arts and nature. And besides, 4 hours of non-stop business talk has absolutely drained the sanity in me. Attending those classes made me realize how boring business is. It is really not for me. That isn't where my heart is. But I don't really have a choice, do I? I am the only person who could take over the company that my parents worked hard for over the years. I need to step up and swallow this drowning feeling. I have to do this. I took a bite on my sandwich when I felt my phone vibrating from Sheila. Where are you? I smiled and typed a reply to Sheila. Garden, near the fountain. I continued to sketch and watch the students happily eating a little bit. I like to observe people just as much as I like sketching and painting. You really should think twice about your new major, a voice said from behind. I looked behind and smiled at Sheila, who is looking down at me. I placed the sketch pad down and stood up to give my best friend a hug. I miss you, I told her while embracing her tightly. She hugged me just as tight as I am doing. I miss you too. You also have a lot of explaining to do. I looked at her and frowned. I know that we have to talk about it soon. She raised her brow at me. That frown isn't going to do you any good, miss. I am still going to interrogate you even if I see your nose bleeding now because you can't understand a thing in business school. I laughed and shook my head. For the record, I can already understand some terms in business. I have been to some business meetings. She scoffed. Don't boast about it. You don't need to lie to me, girl, she said before sitting on the bench and drinking on my can of Coke. I sighed and sat beside her. Are you okay? She asked me. I looked at her and smiled weakly. I think so. She narrowed her eye at me. Come on, tell me, how are you? I'm fine, I replied. I just need a little adjusting to the new life. Sheila held my hand. You don't have to keep it all in. If you're stressed, go and take a break. If you're sad, call me and you can cry. If you need someone to talk to me, you have me. I'm sure your parents would understand if you take a break from business once in a while. They love you. My heart felt full when I heard those words from my best friend. I have been really working my ass off these past few months that I don't know if I am still living my own life. If not for Porter, I may have been really depressed. I know, I told Sheila. She smiled at me. Good, because you should think about yourself first now. I nodded. Thank you. She laughed. Oh no, that's just an introduction. Her voice is laced with menace. You have to tell me where you're going at night. My eyes widened and I gulped. She wiggled her brows and her smile is almost making me shiver. I know ought to tell her about Porter, but I don't know how I would start. Do you have a boyfriend? Her eyes are narrowed at me. My beating stopped. Boyfriend? Sheila laughed. I probably looked funny because she is hysterical. Oh my God, Grace, do you have a boyfriend? I gave her a look. She asked me that question like she doesn't believe that I am capable of having a boyfriend. It's a bit offending, to be honest. Is it that surprising? I asked her. Now her eyes widened and her mouth flew open. So, do you have a boyfriend? Wow, she asked me that same question 3 times. Is that unbelievable? I don't, I replied and rolled my eyes. She looked at me in disbelief. Where are you all those nights you asked me to cover for you then? Her voice was rising. I looked at her with narrowed eyes. She looked back at me with the same intensity. Her expression changed so quickly from being playful to being this serious. "Where are you?" she asked again. I took a deep breath and calmed my nerves and my thoughts. This is my best friend right here. She can't hate me, right? "What?" she asked again, now with crossed arms. I pursed my lips in a thin line and gathered all the courage I could muster. "You know Porter Dunn?" I started. She raised her brow. "What about him?" I bit my lip. My fingers are already fiddling with one another. We, holy, are you dating him?" she asked in disbelief. I rolled my eyes and sighed. "No," I shook my head. She gawked at me. "Then what?" she asked in a strict tone. I sighed and started to tell her everything, from start to finish, even the contract that binds me and Porter. Sheila was shaking her head after I told her the whole story. "It's purely physical," she asked me in a tone where I could sense some disappointment. I nodded. I know how silly that setup could be. I feel like I am in some kind of book. This doesn't really suit me and my personality. But it happened now, and I am living it. "Why are you only telling me now?" she asked in a caring and concerned tone. I pursed my lips in a thin line. "I don't know how to tell this story to anyone," I replied. "And besides, it is supposed to be a secret." She looked at me and shook her head. "Are you okay then?" I smiled and nodded. "Is he good in bed?" She wiggled her eyebrows. I gasped at her and looked at her in disbelief. "How could you ask me that?" She shrugged. "You know, he's the person making you spread your legs. So is he good?" I gulped. "How would I know? He's the only one I've ever done it with." Sheila shrugged. "You should take care of your heart, Grace. I know he's the only man who's ever been close to you, and you are in a vulnerable state right now because of the loss of your parents." She held my hand. "So please guard your heart. Don't fall for him. Don't fall for his tricks." And just like on cue, my phone vibrated, revealing a text from Porter. From Dan. "Baby, have you eaten? I miss you." I pursed my lips in a thin line and looked at Sheila, who also saw the message. "Don't fall for him, Grace. He's a master of this game. I don't want you to get hurt because of him." I nodded. "I know. And now I will have to take a step back. For me, for my heart." Sheila's words must have given me the wake-up call because since that day, I started convincing myself that I shouldn't fall for Porter's antics, and I think it really bothered Porter a lot. "What do you mean?" Porter asked me when he fetched me to school later that day. I just told him that I couldn't eat dinner with him for a whole week because I have a lot of paperwork to do. I know it's lame. Who the hell is sane enough to say that there are paperworks on the first day of school? None, just me. Graciela Pauline Fowler. I might go down as a legend, but then again, I told him that without blinking, so he thought it was true. "You need a whole week to finish those?" he asked in disbelief while driving his car. I nodded. "I need to spend each day in the library." He narrowed his eyes on the road while I saw his hands grip tightly on the steering wheel. He didn't speak after that, and I should be relieved, but I am not. I felt like his silence is definitely what I don't need now. I need him to speak his mind so I could lie more. Yes, that's exactly what I have to do, lie. Because I cannot afford to fall in love with him. He's not the type to fall in love with, and besides, he's not my type. Porter pulled over my house. I unbuckled my seatbelt and uttered a soft thank you before opening the door. But just as when I was about to push it, Porter held my hand. I looked at him and saw him staring at me with serious eyes and a clenched jaw. "What? I'll see you tomorrow." He pursed his lips in a grim line. "Is there anything wrong?" he asked. His voice is so soft but it is void of emotion. I shook my head and took my hand from his grip. "Nothing, really. I'm just preoccupied with school. Business is definitely a pain." I forced a smile. "I can help you with that." I chuckled awkwardly and shook my head. "No need," I replied immediately. "I want to study properly, Porter. What would I learn if you'd help me? I don't want the easy way on this." Porter narrowed his eyes at me. Right now, I know that he's suspecting me of something. Something I don't want him to imagine. My heart was beating really fast that I think I might go sick with his cold stare. I haven't felt this way before. I haven't felt this way ever. And I don't think I would want to feel this way again. I don't want to have someone else having control over my emotions. I can do that, but with Porter, I'm afraid I couldn't. "Okay," he said. His voice sounds defeated. I smiled. "Thank you, Porter. I'll see you in the morning. I mean, if you will fetch me." "I will, Gracila," he responded immediately. "But can we eat breakfast together?" My mouth flew open before I pursed my lips in a thin line. "Okay," I answered because I didn't want him to think I am avoiding him. Although, I already know that he does. Days passed and I was more distant than ever. Excuses I didn't know I could fabricate were let out of the box just so I wouldn't share too many moments with Porter. To be honest, even our nights were gone. I was that distant. We'd kiss, yes, but we don't have sex anymore. Do I miss it? I don't know. But sometimes, in the middle of the night, I wanted to call him and tell him I need him to make me feel that intensity again. Of course, I would always decide on it and do it on my own. But damn, seeing Porter now, dressed in his usual white v-neck shirt and jersey shorts while leaning on his damn Aston Martin, I am kind of blaming myself why I am playing cold now. Porter saw me walking out of the main gate of the university and stood straight. I looked at the girls walking out of the university when I heard them giggling. True enough, they are giggling at Porter. Damn, can he stop being handsome? I hate that he gets too much attention because of his looks. Everywhere he goes, I see women whose eyes turn into hearts and diamonds whenever they lay their gazes on him. It's very uncomfortable for me because they all look at me like they are going to strangle me while it's so different with Porter. Porter walked over to me and took my bag. "Do you have papers again tonight?" he asked. I nodded and he frowned. "But we can have dinner." He raised his brow, probably because he is confused at my enthusiastic tone. He stared at me for a moment before pursing his lips in a thin line and nodding. "Okay." He opened the door for me and there they are, the glares from the women watching us. I pouted as I buckled my seatbelts. Porter climbed inside and placed my bag in the back seat. I looked at him and saw him fastening his seatbelt. I stared at him up and down. He must have sensed that I am gawking at him because he looked at me. I pursed my lips in a thin line while my brows are furrowed. "What?" I sighed and looked away. "Nothing. I don't really have plans on telling him how the attention he attracts from girls is bothering me big time. No, Why would I tell him that? What would that make me? What would he think of me? Some jealous body? Well, we're not really this day, so does that still make me his body? But then, what am I to him now? I am of no use. What am I even thinking? I shouldn't degrade myself like that. Porter held my hand, making me look back at him. Your expression doesn't look like nothing at all, Graciela. I frowned and sighed. The intensity of his stare is going to be the death of me. Why would he look at me like this? Why would he stare at me with those eyes that are telling me things I shouldn't bother feeling? I looked down and played with my fingers. The girls. I am beginning to curse myself inside my head. They look at you like a meal. I want to laugh at myself. What did I just say? Did I like embarrassing myself in front of him so much? Porter didn't utter a word. He didn't laugh either. I don't know what his expression is now, but I'm sure he's grinning from ear to ear. Hearing that from me, he must think I'm trying to crack a lame and dry joke. But then, his index finger touched my chin and lifted my face just so I could see him. He is staring back at me with his deep brown eyes, twinkling like a diamond's. Are you uncomfortable? He asked in a soft tone. His voice is so soothing that I sort of forgotten how he could be damn rude and scary whenever he talks sometimes. I bit my lower lip a little. His jaw clenched and his stare deepened. His gaze fell down to my lips and I could almost quiver in anticipation. I know what he will do when he's looking at my lips like that. And damn, I want him to do it to me now. I wanna kiss you, I whispered. Ah, fuck it baby, he mumbled before crushing his lips on mine. I shut my eyes and pressed my palms on his chest. His lips hovered above mine and devoured me like he's been meaning to do this for a long time. I clenched my fist, grabbing his shirt and responded to his hot kisses. He nibbled on my lower lip, making me moan in delight. His hand flew behind my head and pulled my face closer so he could kiss me even better and hotter. I moaned against his lips. Porter. He continued to suck on my lower lip, biting it even from time to time. I started to do the same to him, making him moan, Baby. I roamed my hands to his jaw and caressed his cheeks with my thumbs. I broke the kiss and looked at him as he slowly leaned his forehead on mine. My heart is beating like it has run 50 miles per hour. I shut my eyes and panted while Porter pressed a kiss on my forehead. I miss you, Graciela. I really do, he whispered. A pang of pain crossed my chest upon hearing him say that, and I don't even know why. I looked at him and smiled weakly. Come home with me, please, he begged. It's dangerous. His eyes, his voice, his plea. I don't know if I can handle it if what Sheila told me came true. If I fell in love with him, everything would backfire at me. He's not the kind of person to fall in love in a woman like me. He'll just hurt me. I'll do anything you asked me to, Graciela. I just need you to come home with me tonight. I bit my lip. He'll do anything. Maybe I can use that against him. I smiled and kissed him on the lips. Okay. He smiled back and kissed me deeply. Thank you. I will make you resist me after this, Porter. I promise. Porter and I dined in a restaurant near his place before rushing to our place. I have been contemplating about this beforehand and I have thought about it over and over again, but now that I am already inside the unit, Sheila has been telling me to resist. She's been warning me to not fall for the Porter Alejandro Dunn if I want my heart unscathed. To be honest, it is supposed to be easy because Porter is not my type. I don't like guys who look really intimidating. I am scared, dear cat. I don't like being threatened and daunted. I don't like guys who think they are the law. I don't want to be dictated on what I have to do. I don't like to be told on what I should do with my life. I don't like guys who only want to be with me because of the pleasure I could give them. Well, obviously because I don't really have enough experience when it comes to those things. Porter is all of the things I don't like in a guy, but damn it. He makes my heart race whenever he does things out of his character. I hate it when he shows that he cares. I hate it when he listens to my stories. I hate it when he tries to make me feel special because I know that he is a playboy. He does those things to other women to keep them hooked. He does these things to gain women's trust. Just thinking about that already breaks my heart. But then again, what am I to him? Anyway, what is this relationship that we have? We are only bound by a damn contract and I stupidly signed because I am so desperate to keep our company going. I am such a loser. I almost flinched when I felt Porter's hand on the small of my back. I looked at him and saw him narrowing his eyes at me. Are you okay? I bit my lip and smiled. Yes. Porter's stare lingered on me for a moment and it felt like he is studying me. His jaw clenched in an instant as he faced me. Do we have a problem? His deep voice sent shivers to my spine. We? I wanted to scoff at his misuse of that pronoun. We don't have a problem. I mean, we shouldn't have a problem. If we have a problem, then that means that our relationship is deeper to even bother to have a problem. I shook my head immediately. No, I chuckled weakly. Why would we have a problem? There's not even a we in the first place. Porter looked at me in a tantalizing manner. I needed to get away from this kind of stare. I shouldn't drown in this kind of stare. So I placed my hand on his chest and tiptoed to kiss him on the lips. I bit his lower lip but he is not responding. His hands went to my shoulder and tried to push me gently, breaking the kiss I was trying to initiate. He furrowed his brows at me, questioning of what I just did. What are you doing? He hissed. I swallowed and tried to throw myself at him again. Kiss me, I ordered him. I want him to kiss me and make me avoid this upcoming conversation. I don't want us to talk. There ain't nothing to talk about. Porter shook his head and held me on my shoulders firmly. He placed the back of his palm on my forehead. Are you sick? I narrowed my eyes at him and yanked his hand away. I'm not sick, I yelled at him and walked to the kitchen to grab a glass of water. I took several deep breaths and shut my eyes to calm myself. I shouldn't have acted like that. But then again, did he not like it when I acted really clingy? Maybe that's one thing I should do so he would be done with me. I drank the glass of water in one chug. It. I'm sorry, I heard Porter say in a whisper. He wrapped his hands on my waist and hugged me from the back. He leaned his chin on my shoulder before kissing me on the cheek. My heartbeat automatically tripled by that gesture of his. I have never... Shh, don't be mad at me, please. His voice was so soft like he intends to hypnotize me. I pursed my lips in a thin line. Porter tightened his embrace on my waist and kissed the space between my jaw and my neck. I gulped and bit my lip. It's fine, I sighed. He shook his head. No, it's not. You're mad at me. I tried to look at him and meet his eye. He looked really torn and aggrieved. I smiled weakly. It's fine. I'm not mad at you. Do I have enough reason to be mad at him? I don't think so. I'm just upset that he didn't do what I wanted him to do. Porter frowned at me. It's obvious that you'd upset baby. I shook my head. I'm sorry. I just had a lot of things in mind. He stared at me for a moment before sighing. I placed my palm on his cheek and caressed it. It's okay, I said as I picked his lips. His eyes widened at what I just did. I smiled at him and saw him slowly smiling at me too. He lifted his hand from my waist and cupped my cheek. He leaned in and gave me a quick kiss. He chuckled quietly before dipping down to kiss me again, but this time it's deeper. I shut my eyes immediately and responded to his kisses. I placed my hand on his chest and welcomed his mouth on mine very willingly. He bit my lower lip, making me gasp, and he took the time to plunge in his tongue inside my mouth. I moaned against him when I felt his tongue masterfully moving against mine like they know a rhythm of their own. I nibbled on his lower lip and sucked it like it is my favorite candy. I could hear him moaning on my mouth as I tried to replicate the way he does it with me. He placed his hand on my shoulder and pulled away from me. He looked at me in the eyes and all I could see is his burning desire and passion. Baby, you can't do that to me. You're going to make me insane. He panted as he swiftly carried me and made me sit on the kitchen counter. He spread my legs and stood up in between them as he pulled me face close to him for another round of a heated kiss. I wrapped my arms around his neck as I gave him what he wanted to have. Kissing him like this makes me actually admit to myself how much I miss his touch and his tongue and his hands all over my body. I wanted to think that every dirty dream I had of him was because I was so accustomed to him making me needy, but now I understand it. I miss him. My body misses him so much. His hand roamed under my shirt and cupped my breast. I moaned and arched my back while he kissed my jaw down to my neck. I held onto the hem of my shirt and lifted it out of my arms and head, throwing it somewhere I could care less about. I heard Porter curse as he speedily removed my brassiere. Porter stared at my mountains before leaning in to engulf inside his mouth. He twirled his tongue against my tip while his other hand played on my other boob. I moaned as I hugged his head, wanting his mouth on my breast as much as he could. He sucked on my like he was a baby, very hungry and eager to suck. He did exactly the same thing on my other before coming back up to claim my lips. I reached for the hem of his shirt and removed it from him, revealing his perfectly sculptured body that made me salivate all the time. I touched his abdominals and I heard him groan. I kissed his chest and sucked on his while I tried to insert my hand inside his shirt. Off, Gracilla, he roared when I finally had touched his hard erection. I almost gasped at how huge he is right now. I couldn't even cup it with my hand. I started to pump his length and I could feel him almost trembling at my deed. He looked into my eyes with such intensity that made me want to do him better and faster. Goodness, he exclaimed when I started to pick up my pace. He held my hand and removed it inside his boxers. I looked at him but all I got was a glare from him. Don't do that again. I don't want to come on your hand, he said as he pulled his shorts and boxers down, giving me a visual representation of what I just played on seconds ago. What the hell? I've never imagined seeing him this huge. He slid my skirt up and removed my underwear in one swift move. He rubbed my clit without any warning, making me gasp with eyes wide. Damn, seeing you wet like this makes me want to fuck you hard, he whispered while inserting fingers inside of me. I bit my lip to suppress another pleasured moan that's about to escape from my dumb mouth. I arched my back as I felt him increasing the pace of the movement of his fingers in and out of me. Ah! I shrieked as I felt I was so close to coming. Fuck miss his fingers inside me. Damn it. Yes, baby, come for me, he whispered while he watched me, intoxicated by everything that he's doing to me. I'm coming, I yelled and finally exploded on his hand. I panted and didn't even have the chance to rest when he suddenly carried me and pinned me on the wall while his shaft is seeking entrance on me. He slowly penetrated me until he totally filled me to the brim. I missed being inside you, he whispered as he started to grin inside me. I leaned my head on the side of his head while he slowly picked up his pace. The cold wall did nothing to me because I was feeling so hot and needy, and Porter's the only one to blame. Harder, I whispered him as I kissed his ear. I heard him let out a feral growl before slamming into me like a hungry animal. I was literally screaming and moaning at the same time as he grinded into me as fast as he can. I'm almost, I gasped and felt us coming together inside me. You, Porter Dunn. From Dunn. Are you in class now? I frowned when I read his text. Porter knew I would be in school to the whole day today and he's acting like I'm not in school for classes. To Dan, aren't you in a meeting? But he's right. I'm not really in class now because it's my free period. I am spending it inside the library because now I really have a real paper to finish. From Dan, a boring meeting, yeah. I smiled and chuckled silently at his reply. I have seen him in meetings and I have noticed that he just gets really bored fast if he didn't like how the report is going. He's just going to play with his pen in between his fingers. He'd give me looks that I don't need because his stare makes me nervous for some reason. To Dan. We have a meeting with the board tomorrow evening, I reminded him, which makes me think about how I could tell him that I won't be joining him for dinner again this evening. Aside from that time that we had in the kitchen, I have never been to a dinner with him. I have never had with him either. And it's been a week. Sure, we eat breakfast together and make out big time inside his car, but we've never gone farther again. My best friend's words still linger inside my head, but this time, I don't really let it burden me. Yes, I am still avoiding Porter, but I have been more subtle about it. But anyway, I don't think my avoidance is doing something. He still gets what he wants most of the time. I am still a slave to his commands. From Dan, dinner? My heart immediately boomed inside my chest. Now I have to tell him that I can't eat dinner with him. To Dan, I have paperworks. I bit the inside of my cheek and tapped my fingers on my notebook as I waited for his reply. He usually gets indifferent when I say no to him, and he's probably got enough of my paperwork excuse. But well, now I really have one. I'm not exactly lying to him. From Dan. Again? Let me just help you with those. I bit my lip and tried to calm my heart. I hate how sometimes he genuinely seemed to show me that he cares, but I know better. I know this game he is playing. I'm not going to let him fool me. I am not going to make myself fall for him. No. To Dan, no need. I can do this on my own. I can do it alone, and it's also for my own sake. If I depend on others too much, I wouldn't be able to make good moves and good decisions in the future on my own. I don't want to be dependent. I don't want people to look at me and think that I am someone who feeds off from other people. It didn't even take a minute until I received his reply from Dan. Why do it alone if you have me? My jaw almost dropped at his reply. Suddenly, my system was in total chaos, like everything seemed to malfunction. What the hell, Gracilla? No falling for the bad boy, no. From Dan. Besides, I can give you examples or simple situation related to your paper so you could understand it better. I narrowed my eyes on my screen. My hands are almost trembling as I type in my reply to Dan. Don't talk that way. I don't really know why I typed that. Suddenly, I want to take it back but I don't want to because my mother always told me to stand up for everything I said. I should not back down or take it back from Dan. What way? I took a deep breath. This is going to be a long way. To Dan. What you just said. I've foreseen that he will play with me. I know what Porter is now. Sometimes I can predict what he's going to do. From Dan. Why? I pursed my lips in a thin line. He's testing my patience. And I am in no mood for games now because I have a 10-page paper due tomorrow. I haven't even finished half of it. I need to focus on things that matter. To Dan, nothing. I just want him to stop pestering me. He's in a meeting for Christ's sake, but he's texting us if he's just lying around his house. From Dan, why do you seem affected? I raised my brow. To Dan, I'm not. Wow, Gracila, you sound really defensive. I hate you. From Dan, you are. And I don't even know what I said that affected you. I took a deep breath and ignored his message. If I don't stop now, he's probably going to pester me until I can no longer finish this damn paper. I put my phone on silent mode and hide it inside my bag, just so I could concentrate in doing my homework. I need to finish at least half of it now and then continue it at home. I spent 2 more hours trying to torture my brain, reading those business jargons that I never thought I ought to learn. I went to my last class and decided to come back to the library to continue after my electives class. It was almost 7:15 in the evening when I was done with 7 pages. I was very contented with what I have finished, so I decided to eat at the cafe near the university before going home. I felt like I deserved some sweets and delicacies because I did a good job finishing 7 pages of this torture of a paper full of business sheets. Life in the office was easier than this. I never thought studying business was this draining. I can't even imagine how law and medicine students cope up knowing that they have more vigorous topics. I walked inside the cafe and ordered a tall lychee fruit tea, a slice of chocolate cake, and blueberry cheesecake. I mentally groaned when I was already in my seat. How many calories I am having tonight? This is a calorie and sugar party. Happy me. Hi, a guy's voice said in the middle of my mental scolding. I looked up from my seat and saw a familiar face. I think he is from one of my classes. I just don't remember where. I smiled curtly. May I help you? The blonde strands of his hair fell flawlessly on his face, slightly covering his dark blue eyes. He smiled at me, showing his perfect set of white teeth. He has that nice guy style. He seemed warm and handsome, like a boy next door type. Someone friendly. He looked around, so I did too. The cafe seemed cramped. I wonder if this cafe has a happy hour or something. He looked at me again and seemed to hesitate on talking. He bit his lip several times and looked really conflicted. I smiled. "You want to share a table?" I asked as I fixed my order so he could place his food. He smiled nervously. Yes. I mean, if that's okay with you." I nodded. "Sure, you can share a seat with me." He stared at me with parted lips. I stared back at me, slightly feeling shy because that's how I really am. "Thanks." He placed his tray on the table and pulled the chair so he could sit across me. I awkwardly shifted on my seat. Why did I agree again? I hate awkward tables. He shot me glances from time to time, but he's silent while he eats his rice meal. He seemed to be looking for a perfect timing to speak to me, but I didn't dare look at him noticeably. I took a deep breath and gathered all the courage I could muster. "Are we in the same class?" He looked at me and chuckled weakly. "Because you look really familiar." He blinked several times before nodding. "Yeah, we have 3 classes together." My eyes widened and suddenly, I felt really ashamed of myself. We have 3 classes and I don't even remember him. What kind of a classmate am I? "Sorry," I said and bit my lip. "I'm not really good with people." He chuckled. "Wow, now he kind of looks a little more relaxed." "That's okay, me too. I'm not really good with people." His eyes stared at me. "But I know you." I furrowed my brows. "You know me?" He nodded. "Graciela Fowler, right? You transferred from fine arts." My eyes widened. "How did you know?" He smiled shyly and rubbed the back of his neck. "Everybody knows you. You're the heiress of one of the premier airlines in Chicago." Yeah," I mumbled. "I'm Jasper, by the way." He introduced himself. I smiled. "Nice meeting you," I told him. He nodded and extended his hand for a shake. I took it and he chuckled. I shook hands with an heiress. I ought not to wash this hand ever. I laughed at his remark and he did too. I shook my head. "You're silly. I'm your classmate." He raised his brow. "I don't shake hands with my classmates, Graciela." I shrugged. "I don't really like being treated like I am a princess or something." He stared at me. He placed his elbow on the table and rested his chin on his palm. "You're not a princess, yes, but you're a special woman." I raised my brow. Is he flirting with me now? Wow, great improvement from being shy to acting cool. "I'm not entertaining now, Jasper." He laughed and shrugged. "You have a boyfriend?" I looked at him and he stared at me the same. His blue eyes bored into me like he's trying to read my mind. I was supposed to answer him when my phone suddenly beeped. I got it from my bag and opened the message from Dan. "You didn't want to grab dinner with me because you're with a prick?" My eyes widened and immediately looked outside of the cafe where a black Aston Martin is parked. Fuck this.